Right then, Tuesday night in Clapham. Teenagers are setting off fireworks, storming shops, terrifying families barricaded inside restaurants, and facing off with police on the high street. And at the same time, just streets away from all of that chaos, a bag of military-grade firearms is sitting unattended on a South London curb. Not in the hands of a criminal. Not left by some gang. Left there by Sadiq Khan's own armed protection officers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to London, where the mayor holds a press conference to tell you the city is perfectly safe, and his bodyguards are simultaneously losing an MP5 submachine gun on the pavement. This is British reform, and this week has delivered a story so staggering, so perfectly ironic, that if you wrote it as fiction, your editor would send it back and tell you it was too on the nose. So let's get into every single layer of this, because there are a lot. The Metropolitan Police was called to Sadiq Khan's South London home on Tuesday evening after a member of the public found a bag containing Met-issued firearms and equipment left at the curbside. The bag contained a Heckler and Koch MP5 carbine submachine gun, a Glock handgun, a Taser, and ammunition belonging to the mayor's armed personal protection team. LBC, let that sink in. Not a penknife, not a pair of handcuffs, a submachine gun, a pistol, a Taser, and a load of bullets, just sitting there, on a street, in South London, like someone forgot their gym bag after leg day. And the way it was found is even better. A pregnant woman first spotted the bag and kicked it to investigate before alerting her partner, Jordan Griffiths, who took it inside. Her partner, a scaffolder, initially speculated the bag might contain coins because of its weight, but upon opening it found a cache of police-issued firearms. GB News, he thought it was coins. A bag of coins. Instead, he opened it and found enough firepower to equip a small squad. A pregnant woman's casual roadside kick was all that stood between a normal Tuesday evening in Clapham and a genuine national security incident. Let that be the image that stays with you. Mr. Griffiths laid out the weapons on his bed, photographed them, and contacted the police, who arrived within minutes to retrieve the items. The responding officers were reportedly shocked to see the collection and confirmed the bag had been left by one of Khan's security detail. When Griffiths inquired about a reward, he was jokingly offered a bag of sweets. British brief, a bag of sweets. The man finds a submachine gun and is offered confectionery. You cannot make this up. The Metropolitan Police, the same force that will fine you 60 quid for a dodgy tire, offered this man a bag of Haribo for his trouble. That is the institutional confidence of an organization that knows full well nobody's going to hold it properly to account. Now, here's where the story tips from alarming into absolutely extraordinary. Because this wasn't just any night in London. The holdall was discovered at around 9:30 on Tuesday, the same night feral youths were running riot in Clapham. GB News, the same night. Literally simultaneously. While the officers protecting the mayor of London were leaving military hardware on the pavement, roughly 100 Met police officers were being deployed to Clapham High Street as a mob attempted to storm shops, start fires, and set off fireworks on Clapham Common. GB News. So on one side of Clapham, you've got the police being overwhelmed by disorder. On the other side, the police protecting the mayor have accidentally created what could have been the most dangerous lost property situation in British history. This is not a policing triumph. This is a policing tragedy presented as a policing tragedy. And the Clapham disorder itself deserves its own spotlight here, because this wasn't a one-off. After unrest on Saturday, 100 officers were sent to Clapham on Tuesday. 4 officers were assaulted, along with 1 member of the public. Shopkeepers described having to lock their doors after teenagers ran amok as part of an online trend, with children arranging to meet in so-called link-ups using TikTok and Snapchat before surging into shops. ITV News London, link-ups. That's what they are calling them. Flash mobs for disorder, organized on social media, where hundreds of teenagers turn up to a location with the sole intention of chaos. And businesses, real people, real livelihoods, are barricading their customers inside while they wait for it to pass. One shop worker described how terrified shoppers were locked in at 8:15, with police and security holding the doors shut and escorting them out one by one. LBC, this is Clapham, one of the busiest neighborhoods in South London. Not some abstract crime statistic. Real families, real children, real fear. Now you might expect the Mayor of London, the man literally responsible for overseeing policing in the capital, to have seen this coming. You might also, rather generously, expect him to have something useful to say about it. Instead, just before all of this kicked off, Sadiq Khan was urging British diplomats to challenge what he called disinformation, misinformation, and lies about London being dangerous, telling them that claims about London being unsafe was simply not true. GB News, not true. He said that. And then the same week his own protection team left a bag of guns on a public street while his city's high street was being stormed. The cognitive dissonance is breathtaking. It's like the captain of the Titanic giving a speech about maritime safety while the iceberg is already in the dining room. And what was his response once the gun bag story broke? A spokesperson for Khan said the incident was very serious and had been referred to the Met's Directorate of Professional Standards, adding that the Met must now take all steps to ensure an incident like this never occurs again. ITV News. The Met must ensure it never occurs again. Brilliant. The same Met that's already stretched thin, already facing public trust issues, already overwhelmed by disorder, has now also got to explain how 5 officers collectively failed to notice they'd left a submachine gun at the roadside. 5 officers have been removed from frontline duties while the investigation takes place. LBC 5. The bag had the former armed officer Kevin Hurley did not a single one of them commenting on it was missing until he described himself as raging with fury and suggested the incident pointed to systemic failures within the Royalty and Diplomatic Protection Group, saying there is a cultural problem and that senior police leadership had failed to grasp one of the most fundamental elements of the Casey report. GB News, a cultural problem, not a one-off slip. A cultural problem within the unit responsible for protecting the most senior figures in London. In the Casey report, Dame Louise Case's review of the Met from 2023 that laid out in devastating detail the institutional failings within the force apparently still isn't being fully acted upon. We are 3 years on and the Met is still producing headlines that would embarrass a scriptwriter. The whole thing is a perfect encapsulation of the state of London policing under this mayoralty. A mayor who insists the city is safe while disorder erupts on his doorstep. A protection team that misplaces military weapons in a residential street. Businesses barricading customers inside. Teenagers organized on TikTok running rings around 100 offices. And the official response to all of it, from a spokesperson, to a professional standards referral, to a promise it won't happen again, is the political equivalent of putting a post-it note on a collapsed bridge. Something has gone badly, structurally wrong, and the people in charge are still reaching for the press release. Jordan Griffiths, the scaffolder who found the guns, summed it up rather well. He said Khan's security team had let everyone down. Not just the mayor, everyone. And he's right, because this isn't just embarrassing for one man or one protection unit. It's a symbol of a city where the people who are supposed to keep you safe can't keep track of a holdall, where teenagers can organize mass disorder on a phone app, and where the mayor responds to all of it by lecturing diplomats about disinformation.